Let me tell you something today. Not everything that's hurting you is meant to break you. Some things that feel like they're pulling you apart are really putting you together. You're standing in the middle of a battle right now, and you're thinking, why is this happening to me? You're asking, what did I do wrong? But what if I told you that the storm you're in isn't here to destroy you, it's here to develop you? See, we've been trained to believe that if life gets hard, if doors close, if people walk away, then something must be wrong. But God doesn't operate on human logic. He doesn't check with your comfort before starting his work. When God is building you, he allows pressure. He allows opposition because it's not punishment, it's preparation. He's not trying to kill you. He's trying to crown you. Let that sink in. God is using this very battle, the one you've cried about, the one that's kept you up at night, the one that made you question your own worth. He's using that to position you. You're not off track. You're not behind. You're not cursed. You're in training. And the problem with training is that it feels like pain until the purpose is revealed. You're praying for strength, but strength doesn't fall from the sky. It's built in the fire. You're asking for patience, but patience is developed in delay. You're asking God to take away the resistance, but what if the resistance is the gym where he's building your spiritual muscle? What if the very thing you're begging him to stop is the very thing he's using to start your next chapter? Some of you are mad at the process. But the process is what's going to make you unshakable. You're complaining about the pressure, but pressure creates power. Diamonds aren't formed in peace, they're formed in pressure. Warriors aren't made in comfort, they're made in chaos. If God allowed it, it has purpose. He's too wise to make a mistake and too strategic to waste a battle. So don't mistake your current struggle for a sign that you've been abandoned. That silence you feel, that's not absence, it's alignment. Heaven is recalibrating your life. God is adjusting your atmosphere. He's repositioning your circle. He's refining your character. But because you can't see the results yet, you think he's not working. Oh, but let me tell you, just because it's invisible doesn't mean it's inactive. God does his best work in the dark. Seeds don't grow in the sunlight alone. They need the soil, the pressure, the waiting, the watering. And while everyone else sees nothing, something is happening underground. That's where you are. You're underground right now. You're being cultivated, not buried. Buried things are forgotten. Cultivated things are invested in. And you are not forgotten. You are being invested in. I know it's hard. I know you want to quit. I know you're tired of being the strong one. But hear me. This battle isn't the end of you. It's the making of you. You've cried tears, but those tears are watering something powerful inside of you. You've had to stand alone. But in that solitude, God has been sharpening your vision. You've been misunderstood, overlooked, even betrayed. But God uses rejection to redirect. He'll let people push you out because he's pulling you in. You don't need their approval when you've already got God's anointing. Stop looking for validation from people who were never assigned to your destiny. Stop expecting loyalty from those who were only meant to be lessons. Some of the warfare you're experiencing isn't because you're weak, it's because you're close. The enemy doesn't fight empty houses. He doesn't go after what's useless. The battle is a sign that something valuable is inside of you, something the world needs, something that's being activated. God is not building convenience, He's building capacity. He's stretching you so you can carry more. He's allowing the shaking so what's not rooted in Him can fall off. He's breaking old patterns, cutting toxic ties, silencing distractions. Because when you come out of this, you're not going to be who you were before. You're going to be wiser, stronger, more focused, more fearless, more faithful. You keep asking God for elevation, but elevation always comes with excavation. He's digging deep so He can build high. He's taking you through the valley so you can handle the mountaintop. And when you get there, you'll look back at this moment, the one you wanted to quit, and you'll realize it was the training ground for your testimony. So don't give up. Don't you dare throw in the towel. This is not the end of your story. This is the chapter that changes everything. God is using this battle to build you. And when He's done, what you thought was breaking you will be the very thing that blesses you. You've been asking God to take the pain away. You've been crying out, Lord, I can't take this anymore. Why does it have to be this hard? Why does it hurt this bad? And what you don't understand is that the very place where you feel weakest, that's where God is doing His deepest work. That place of brokenness, that place of struggle, that place where your heart feels like it's hanging by a thread, that's the workshop. That's the construction site. That's where strength is being built. See, we want strength without strain. We want glory without grit. We want to walk in power, but we don't want to go through the process. But you can't have one without the other. God builds warriors in the wilderness. He forms kings in caves. He anoints leaders in the lonely places. Your weakness is not your enemy, it's your invitation. It's the very thing God uses to show you what you really carry. Because when you are at your limit, when you've run out of solutions, when you're tired of pretending you've got it all together, that's when God steps in. That's when His strength is made perfect, not in your comfort, not in your image, not in your reputation, but in your weakness, in your lack, in your need. Some of you are waiting for your breakthrough to come after you've got it all figured out. But can I tell you something? God doesn't need your perfection. He wants your surrender. He's not looking for the polished version of you. He's looking for the real you. The version that's bruised, the version that's confused, the version that's scared, but still showing up. That's the version He blesses. That's the version He builds. And I know the world has taught you that weakness is failure, that tears mean you're losing, that admitting you're hurting means you're unqualified. But that's a lie. The truth is, when you admit your weakness, you allow God's power to flow. You stop carrying it all on your back and start trusting the one who's carried you all along. That's not defeat. That's wisdom. That's maturity. That's divine alignment. Because strength isn't just about looking strong. It's about being, and real strength is built when you've been through hell and didn't quit, when you've cried and still showed up, when you've been wounded but you didn't let it make you bitter. That kind of strength doesn't come from books. It doesn't come from applause. It comes from breaking. Oh, I know we don't like that word, breaking, but breaking is how oil flows from the olive. Breaking is how wine is released from the grape. Breaking is how light shines through clay jars. If you've been broken, if you've been crushed, if you've been shattered, that doesn't disqualify you. That means you're chosen. That means God saw something in you that he wanted to use, and he knew the only way to get it out was to let life squeeze it out. Some of you are being crushed right now, and you're trying to hold yourself together. You're trying to stay strong for everybody else. But inside you're exhausted, you're spiritually drained, you're emotionally worn out. And I came to tell you it's okay to not have all the answers. It's okay to say, God, I'm weak right now. Because when you admit that, he says, good, now let me carry you. You're not supposed to carry this alone. You were never designed to fight every battle in your own strength. That's why you've been feeling overwhelmed. That's why it feels like the weight is too heavy. Because you're trying to fight a spiritual battle with natural strength. You're trying to push through something God never meant for you to carry by yourself. And that's where the enemy loves to operate, right in your weakness. He shows up and says, see, you're not enough. You'll never make it through this. Look how tired you are. Look how broken you've become. But what he doesn't want you to know is that God is attracted to that weakness. God doesn't despise your pain. He draws near to it. He wraps his strength around your struggle. And while the enemy is trying to shame you, God is trying to shape you. You are not broken beyond repair. You are not too far gone. You are not too messed up for God to use. In fact, he's going to use this very season, this very weakness, this very battle to show the world what real strength looks like. Not the kind that hides behind a smile. Not the kind that's based on how many followers you have or how good you look on the outside. But the kind that comes from knowing I've been through the fire and I'm still here. You want to know what strength really is? It's surviving what was meant to destroy you. It's choosing faith when fear makes more sense. It's getting up one more time when everything in you says, stay down. That's the strength God is building in you, not just for you, but for the people you're going to help, for the lives you're going to touch, for the purpose you're going to fulfill. So yes, it hurts. Yes, it's hard, but don't run from the weakness. Lean into it. Let God work in it. Let him show you who you are beneath the performance, beneath the pride, beneath the pressure. Because when the dust settles, you won't just have strength. You'll become a living testimony that weakness doesn't disqualify you, it reveals you. And God is using this weakness not to break you. There's something about silence that makes us uncomfortable, something about stillness that makes us question everything. When the noise dies down, when the crowd walks away, when the doors stop opening and the phone stops ringing, suddenly we start wondering, did God forget about me? We begin to ask ourselves, why isn't he answering? Why am I not hearing anything? Where is God in all this? Let me tell you, silence doesn't mean absence. Don't confuse a quiet season with a vacant one. God may be silent, but he's never absent. He may not be saying anything to you right now, but that doesn't mean he's not doing something for you right now. In fact, some of God's most powerful moves happen when he says absolutely nothing. That's hard for us to understand. Because we crave reassurance. We want confirmation. We want the signs, the wonders, the open doors, the voice in the night. But what happens when God doesn't send a sign? What happens when you pray and the heavens feel closed? What happens when your faith feels like it's hanging in the air with no response? That's when you learn what trust really is. Trust isn't proven when everything is going right. Trust is forged in the silence. It's one thing to follow God when he's giving you direction every step of the way, but it's another thing entirely to keep walking when he's quiet. That kind of trust, that's maturity, that's growth. That's the kind of faith that doesn't depend on feelings. Because if you only believe when you feel something, that's not faith, that's emotion. And your emotions will lie to you. They'll tell you God's not working. They'll tell you you've been abandoned. But I need you to know today, God doesn't stop being faithful just because he's quiet. God doesn't stop being present just because you don't feel him. He's not gone. He's working behind the scenes. You're in a setup, not a setback. And some of you are in a season where you feel like heaven is locked up. You've been crying, you've been fasting, you've been doing all the right things, but you hear nothing. And now you're tired. You're discouraged. You're wondering if this thing is even real. But let me remind you, the teacher is always silent during the test. God's not testing you because he wants to see you fail. He's testing you to show you what you're made of. He's testing you because he's getting ready to trust you with more. And before he blesses you publicly, he wants to see if you'll trust him privately. Can you hold on to your faith when there's no sign? Can you keep worshiping when there's no breakthrough yet? Can you keep walking when the road ahead looks dark? That's what this season is about. It's not about punishment. It's about preparation. You're not being ignored, you're being trained. And training doesn't feel good. Silence doesn't feel good. But what you don't realize is that this is where endurance is being built. This is where your roots grow deep. Because storms don't shake trees with deep roots. And God is making sure you're not easily shaken. Sometimes God pulls back not to abandon you, but to anchor you. Sometimes he withholds the answers not to confuse you, but to strengthen your discernment. Sometimes he doesn't speak, not because he doesn't care, but because he already spoke. And now it's your turn to walk by what he already said. You've already been anointed. You've already been called. You've already been chosen. God's not on trial. His silence isn't proof that he's changed his mind. It's proof that he's watching to see if you still believe what he said the last time he spoke. And that's the challenge. Will you keep going off of the last word? Will you obey without constant updates? Can you walk forward in faith when you don't know what's next? Because the silence is shaping something in you. It's burning out the dependence on others. It's cutting off the need for validation. It's removing the distractions. It's clarifying your vision. You're learning how to pray differently. You're learning how to fight differently. You're learning how to rely not on your emotions, not on your surroundings, but on his word. That's the power of the quiet season. It reveals what's really in you. It shows you where your faith is anchored. And it reveals who's really for you, because not everyone can walk with you through silence. Some people only stay when the miracles are flowing. Some only stick around when the favor is visible. But the ones who can stay in the silence with you, those are the ones God will use in your next season. And more importantly, you are learning how to stay in the silence with God. You're learning to trust his character when you can't trace his hand. You're learning to believe that he is still for you, even when it feels like nothing is happening. But oh, something is happening. Just because it's quiet doesn't mean it's empty. There is movement in the silence. There is power in the stillness. And when the silence breaks, when the heavens open, when the manifestation comes, you're going to realize that God was working the entire time. And you'll look back and say, I didn't understand it then, but now I see what he was doing. He was growing me. He was pruning me. He was purifying me. He was preparing me. So don't let the silence shake you. Don't let the stillness fool you. Just because he's quiet doesn't mean he's done. Just because you can't hear him doesn't mean he stopped hearing you. You are not alone. You are not forgotten. You are not overlooked. God is still working, God is still moving, and God is still God, even in the silence. Sometimes we ask God to bring us out when God is trying to bring us through. You're praying for an exit, but God is building endurance. You're looking for relief, and God is developing resilience. You see a battle, but God sees a bridge to the next version of you, the stronger you, the wiser you, the anointed you. And yes, it's hard. Yes, it's uncomfortable. But the truth is, transformation rarely happens in comfort. Growth doesn't come when things are easy. It comes when things stretch you. We don't get to new levels without pressure. You can't step into destiny without shedding what used to be. God doesn't call who's already ready. He calls those willing to be made ready. And the tool he uses to make you ready, it's the very battle you're trying to avoid. That's why you've been feeling pressed. That's why the enemy has been coming at you from every side. It's not random. It's not pointless. God is pushing you out of what's familiar so he can lead you into what's fruitful. But here's the catch. Before you see the fruit, you have to go through the furnace. And nobody likes the furnace. Nobody likes the fire. But the fire is where the impurities fall off. The fire is where the old mindsets burn away. The fire is where the surface stuff melts and the real, unshakable you begins to emerge. I know it's hard when you don't understand why. I know it hurts when you're doing everything you know to do and things still fall apart. I know the pain of watching other people rise while you're stuck in survival mode. But God's timing is never off. His hand is never late. And he's not just building a blessing for you, he's building you for the blessing. Because if he gave it to you too early, you wouldn't know how to carry it. If he released the promise before the preparation, you'd sabotage it with the same old habits. So instead of rushing the breakthrough, God slows you down to build something deeper in you. You're not stuck. You're becoming. You're becoming someone who doesn't quit at the first sign of trouble. You're becoming someone who doesn't rely on applause to stay obedient. You're becoming someone who walks by faith and not by sight. You're becoming someone who can handle the weight of what you prayed for. And let me tell you, God doesn't bless who you pretend to be. He blesses the you that's willing to be refined, reshaped, and renewed. Some of you have been asking, when is this going to be over? And I hear God saying, when the work is complete, not your work, his work in you. You want it to be over because it's uncomfortable, but he's letting it continue because there's more he wants to build inside of you. You've been looking for deliverance, but God is working on development. Deliverance is instant, but development takes time. It takes process. It takes repetition. And yes, it takes pain, because pain is a tool in God's hand. He doesn't waste your wounds. He uses them to carve out the capacity to carry greater purpose. He uses them to pull out of you things you didn't even know were in you, strength you never had to use before, wisdom you never had to lean on before, grace you never needed until now. That's why you've been under pressure, because something greater is coming out of you. You're being expanded. You're being stretched. You're being pulled into the next dimension of your purpose. And the enemy thought he could take you out in the process. But what he didn't see was that every hit, every tear, every lonely night was feeding the fire inside you. See, what was meant to break you is going to build you. What tried to bury you is going to birth you. What the enemy used to slow you down is actually the very thing God is using to strengthen your step. You may have been knocked down, but you didn't stay there. You may have cried, but you kept going. You may have felt weak, but you didn't walk away. And that's what God is using. It's not your perfection. It's not your performance. It's your persistence, that quiet strength that says, I'm not giving up here. That fire in your spirit that says, I don't care how long it takes. If God said it, it's still coming. That kind of faith moves mountains. That kind of resolve shakes hell. So don't let the delay make you doubt. Don't let the process make you panic. Just because it's taking time doesn't mean it's denied. God is still in control. He's still moving, and he's doing more in the background than you realize. While you're fighting on the surface, he's building a foundation that will not be moved. While you're crying over closed doors, he's constructing the right one behind the scenes. While you're praying for an escape, he's giving you the endurance to stand tall and say, this won't break me. You are not being crushed. You are being called up. You are not being defeated. You are being developed. And when it's all said and done, you won't just come out. You come out better, stronger, sharper, clearer, wiser, and ready for what's next. So God is using this battle not just to shift your situation, but to shape you into who you were always meant to be.